So I always wanted to work in public health on health-related issues. That always interested me. And I felt like it was the way I could best contribute.
Welcome back to another episode of The Premium Perspective. I'm Serena, and today I have with me Andy Miller, Executive Director of Austin Child Guidance Center. Andy, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. We love you guys. So I have a whole lot of questions for you, but I wanted to just get into your personal background and what led you to Austin Child Guidance Center.
I have about 30 years experience working in nonprofits, mostly in the health and human services space. My bachelor's degree was in sociology, and then my master's was in health science education. So I always wanted to work in public health and on health-related issues for populations. That always interested me, and I felt like it was the way I could best contribute to the world, is to help other people live happy, healthy lives. So the way that's looked for me has been working with a number of different causes. It may have been cancer at one point. Another time I was working with families that had children with disabilities or developmental delays. Sometimes I was working with large health systems to make sure that they were really producing good outcomes for their patients. And then here at Austin Child Guidance Center, I get to work with children and families who are needing mental health support. And that may come in the way of individual or family therapy. It may come in the form of psychological testing, because there may be something going on that the child needs to be diagnosed with so that the family can get the support that they need. Or it means going into child care centers and making sure the places where we entrust our babies when we go to work are trauma-informed, nurturing places where they're going to get the best support possible.
Wow. Okay. I actually didn't know that part, that y'all were going into child care centers and stuff like that. So for those that are listening and don't know too much about Austin Child Guidance Center, real quick, can you just give the backstory of what you guys do and y'all's mission?
So we've been around since 1951 in the Austin community, been around for a long time. And if you think about what mental health services for children looked like back in the 1950s, it wasn't nearly as robust as it is today. A lot of times, the thinking was, if a child was suffering from a mental illness, they need to be institutionalized. And so placing a child in a state hospital or some type of psychiatric, facility was the way to go. Austin decided it wanted to do something different, something better, something more family-centered. So it created the first ever kind of outpatient community-based child therapy center. And over the years, we've looked very different. At one point, we ran a day school for children with mental health issues. We've done camps. We've done a whole host of trainings for healthcare professionals. But through all of that, our main focus has been to provide accessible and affordable child and family therapy services. So counseling services to those who need it, who may not be able to afford it, to the folks in our community. And that community has grown. So in the past, where we mainly served Austin, we have now grown to serve the entire 10-county Central Texas area. We do a lot of that through in-person therapy. So people come into our offices and meet with a therapist one-on-one. But many of the folks that we serve are through teletherapy. So they're not maybe in our office, but they're on the other side of a screen talking to one of our therapists. And that's really important, I think, for our region, because transportation can be such a challenge, and people are moving further and further out from Austin and Travis County because of affordability. So making sure that healthcare, mental health services are accessible through teletherapy has been really important.
How has that been? Was it a transition? I can assume, did that start after COVID or?
It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
I think it certainly predates me at ACGC, but, we had been looking at teletherapy as a model, but the whole world was really not sure, what the structure of it should look like, what the payment model was going to look like. Was it going to get reimbursed, by insurance and Medicaid? So we, overnight, we were all at home.
Yeah.
So for organizations like ACGC and a lot of other healthcare organizations, all of the research, all the planning that had been done needed to be implemented overnight because people needed to be served.
Yeah.
And we were all stuck at home. So we had to put teletherapy in place pretty quickly. And that means all the technology, all the policies and procedures, had to work with insurers to make sure that, we could get reimbursed for that care.
Yeah.
Because even though we do provide care to anyone in our community who needs it, no matter if they have the ability to pay, we do accept insurance and we do accept Medicaid for families who do have those benefits because it does help us as an organization to generate revenue to keep the doors open so that we can serve the community. But yeah, it really had to happen really, really quickly. And, once the genie was out of the bottle, that was it. I would say today our services are probably about 50-50. 50% in person, 50% teletherapy.
Yeah. What's the feedback you get with the kids? Because a lot of them are children and young ones. So how is that?
I have, as you know, teletherapy is a great tool to bring services to those folks who might not otherwise get it. But I definitely have seen where it benefits some populations more than others. And that's across the board. I think during the pandemic, we saw that, virtual kindergarten didn't really work too well. So as you might imagine, teletherapy and virtual therapy options probably serve those individuals and families who that's the way they want to receive therapy, or it is age appropriate, like the child can sit still and they can focus.
Yeah.
So really, it's mostly based on what the client wants and what they're receptive to.
Makes sense. I was teaching during COVID,
Yeah.
and it was fun because I did special education, and so that was a really interesting time with the kids to sit there and have them be on virtual, but made it work.
It's one thing to have someone, in your office or in your classroom where they can focus and not have the distraction. Had been looking at it, and then when the pandemic hit in 2020, but we know home is filled with lots of activity, and to sit there and try to, zone out and make sure that none of that distracts you from what you're trying to do. It's hard for adults. And so for children, it's near impossible.
Yeah. And do y'all have the adults sit in during those, or how does that work?
So it is individual therapy with the child, but oftentimes, especially if the child is young, we want to find ways to support that child's development at home. And so some of the practices that need to be put in place, we do need to talk to the parent. We do need to provide some support for the family because it can be really stressful. And, sometimes some of the things parents are doing, may not necessarily be in service to the therapeutic, goals for the child. So you also want to teach the family okay, this is what your kiddo is going through and this is what supports they need. And a lot of time parents don't, they're not trained to do that. And they don't have that information and background. So much of what we do is, especially with younger children, often with the kids and the family.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So really quick, going back to your story, you said that when you had the background in nonprofit. So what led you exactly, or how did you get involved with Austin Child Guidance Center? What made you say I want to be here?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I've been in the Austin community since 2020, or I'm sorry, since 2000. I say 2020, since 2000. So I've been here for about 25 years. And in that time, got to know the nonprofit community in the work that I was doing. And I've known about Austin Child Guidance Center because it's been around for 75 years.
Yeah. Really quick, back then it was a lot smaller, the nonprofit community? Or
it was. Austin itself was much smaller, and so there were fewer nonprofits as well. So we have so many nonprofits here, probably more than many cities in Texas per capita, and but not that many doing mental health services. So that's the one piece where Austin Child Guidance Center has always kind of stood out as one of the few places where anyone in the community can go to get mental health services. So I've been in the Austin community since 2000. So I've been here about 25 years. So I'd always kind of known about ACGC since it's been around for 75 years now. And some of the work that I was doing, because previously I was the executive director at Any Baby Can as well.
Oh, okay.
So we were working with little kids and families, and oftentimes those families needed referrals for mental health services. So we could work really collaboratively with other nonprofits like ACGC to provide, connection to resources that family needed. And coincidentally, I was also a new-ish dad at that time, and my son had been diagnosed with ADHD, and we were really struggling on how to connect with him and to provide him the support that he needed as parents. Because a lot of the traditional parenting roles that we were raised on just weren't working with him. Like the information just wasn't translating, and we didn't know kind of how to reach him and how to best support him. So ACGC actually was offering a parenting class at that time. It was a 6-week class for parent of children with ADHD, and it was anything about the kiddos. It was just about us telling us like, hey, these are some things that you need to know about this condition and how it's affecting your kid, how you can best support them, because they had lots of, skills and abilities. They just were different.
Yeah.
Like they were differently wired brains than ours. So that was my first kind of introduction personally to ACGC. And then when I got the opportunity to work there, through their seeking a new executive director, I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to support an organization that has been meaningful to me and my family personally, but also I know plays a key role in the community to provide services to families who really need it.
Yeah, that's really, that's beautiful that you're able to do that. How has it been, like being the executive director there and having that role? Like, how has that been?
It's good. I mean, what I've seen is the need for us to continue to be adaptive and to fill gaps and meet the needs in the community, which are always changing. There's been such a conversation around mental health services, in Austin, in Texas, resources being devoted to things like, developing the new state hospital or the new the TCHAP program, support for pediatricians, support for schools, when they have students that have mental health needs. So there's lots of things happening. And I think ACGC is one of those kind of rare organizations where we're independent, we're nonprofit. We are, accredited by the Joint Commission as a community behavioral health clinic. So, we can take insurance, we can take Medicaid, we can provide low-cost services, sometimes free services. So I think for me, one of the things that I have been most focused on is how do we keep ACGC really meeting the community's needs when those needs are always changing?
Yeah.
So for us, one of the really cool things that we've discovered lately is, we need to not just be thinking about childhood as 0 to 17. Because we know that there's a huge generational shift happening right now where 60%, 60% of people under 25 are living at home with their parents still.
Yeah, man, I've seen that.
It's crazy. They're staying on their parents' insurance. They're living with their parents, whether it's, to work and save money or going to school and staying close to home. But there's a big generational shift in, folks becoming fully independent. And we also know just from a biology standpoint, the brain doesn't fully develop. The prefrontal cortex of the brain, where decisions are made, where emotional regulation happens, doesn't fully develop till you're 25. So we say, at 18, you're an adult, good luck. We really started saying we could be doing so much more. And why are we dismissing clients from care at 17 just because they're not a child anymore?
Yeah,
so we've started launching our young adult program. And so now ACGC is going to start seeing clients up to age 25.
Oh, that's amazing. Has that officially started? Or?
It has. It's officially started. We just launched it this past September. We've been starting by not dismissing clients. So if you turned 18, we didn't dismiss you from care. If you wanted to continue on and you were still making progress in your therapy, we didn't dismiss you. So we were starting to keep clients, but now we're going to start admitting clients, new clients between 18 and 25.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So how do y'all get that information and are y'all doing surveys or
So some of it is surveys, some of it is looking at community needs assessment. So we are looking at other sources like information that the state collects that that happens during the census. But a lot of healthcare systems in our community do what's called a community health needs assessment. So on a regular basis, they do an intensive research project where they really say, here's what our community needs. Here's what they're experiencing health-wise. Here is what our resources are, and here are the gaps. So we really rely on folks like, St. David's Foundation, Seton, Baylor Scott and White. A lot of these hospital systems do these community health needs assessments and provide really robust information for us. United Way of Central Texas also does a lot of data collection around community needs. So for us, it provides a good a good, reliable data set for us to say, like, what's going on in the community and how do we plan to meet the needs for families that have mental health challenges.
Yeah. Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah. Central Texas all the counties in Central Texas, I believe, are designated as a mental health desert, which means that there are not enough providers in our community to meet the needs of the population.
And in other places?
That's true in most counties in Texas, to be honest.
Gotcha.
There's only about 4 or 5 counties in Texas that don't meet that designation. Wow. So across the state, we are way behind in the number of healthcare professionals in the mental health space to meet the needs of our population. So for us, it really does raise the question of how do we maintain services to reach those, for us, who are probably the most vulnerable. Because mental health is still something that it is not reimbursed by a lot of insurance at the same rate as physical health conditions are. And what that means is a lot of providers don't take insurance. So for us, it's really important for us to always be willing to take clients' insurance, always being able to take Medicaid, because those folks who have Medicaid benefits sometimes struggle to find providers that take Medicaid. So for us, making sure that we can take those benefits, and if you don't even have access to those, we do run a sliding scale fee. So we base whatever you pay on your family size and income. So we can always discount things down. And there's a few grants that we get from the state and from other entities that allow us to provide services free of charge, no questions asked. If a child experiences, is witness to, or is a victim of a crime, we can serve that child and family free of charge. Certain zip codes, certain population, areas of our community that are designated as underserved, if you live in those areas, we can serve you free of charge. And definitely, if you are a low-income family who really struggles to, provide, that has enough resources to provide for basic needs for your family and mental health support, we always want people to feel like this is within reach and we can work with you, because we never want someone to decide, I can't afford mental health services, if that's what they really need.
Yeah, and then they're just like, I'm not going to do it at all.
Yeah.
So like with Texas being so behind, are you seeing, like, what's the shift that you've seen just with just mindset over mental health and, beliefs on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, we're never going to have enough therapists.
Yeah.
We're never going to have enough licensed clinicians to do one-on-one therapy with everyone who might need it. So we really have to think more creatively. One is we do need to get more. We need to get more people in that space. So training programs, ways that we bring those costs down, making sure that those training programs are full of diverse individuals, because we want people from all backgrounds, and walks of life to be pursuing degrees in social work, in psychology, in counseling, because that's the way we're going to overcome some of these cultural and community stigmas that still exist around mental health services, because people are far more likely to feel comfortable, seek services if it's supported by their community.
Yeah.
And what better way than have it be actually provided by someone who is from that community. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that we're going to address some of this, is by diversifying the workforce. And then 2, doing more work that's not clinical. That's not one-on-one therapy, more prevention work, more community-based work. One of the things that we're really excited about is we're going to be working on that the residents of their community are well served, so we can do work that they'll pay for. So it really is a partnership between like public, private, and nonprofit entities to make sure the whole community has access to resources. Yeah.
Man, that's a role, like quite the role. How do you manage like navigating all of those? Do you designate certain days to like
That would be great if I was that organized. I will tell you, my strategy over the last 30 years in doing this work has largely been, you kind of go where the heat is, and there's always some heat. So what needs attending to today? And certainly you need to do some work to plan for like the future, and you need to make sure that you've got good people around you who have different skills than you do. So like I'm very much more strategy, big thinker, helping people to overall look at the system that we're designing and is it working for us? But the fine detailed work, like writing the policy, writing the procedure, collecting the data, analyzing the data. That's for people who have like an appetite for that, who have skills in that area. So it's also surrounding knowing what different roles it's going to take to do the job, and knowing that you can't do all of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest risk, I think, for a lot of nonprofit executive directors, is that they think they have to be able to do it all, and they try to do it all, and you can't. You've got to have smart people around you that know finances, smart people that know human resources, who know program evaluation, who know fundraising. And you play a role in all of those things, but if you think you have to do it all and you're going to be the expert at all of it, it's going to be really hard.
Yeah. And you guys are blessed. Y'all have a great staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love everyone there.
It's a good team.
It really is. And so I wanted to ask, what else does Austin Child Guidance Center have like planned for the future? I know you said the farm.
Yeah.
The young adults.
So we expanded to young adults up to 25. We are having plans to really develop our garden into a farm. Next year, 26, is going to be our 75th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to have some exciting news about ACGC's future. Certainly, we want to do a lot to celebrate that milestone in the community and use it as an opportunity to tell people about our services and how to access them. Because again, we want people to know that we're here. Yeah. I think that we're excited. I want to be around for another 75 years, and we'll have more news to share at that point.
Oh, that's so exciting! Are you going to do like a big community event or like a gala or anything?
Yeah, I think all of it is up for discussion at this point. We're still about a year out, so probably we'll kick it off around November of 26, and then
is 74 coming up in November or
75th. So we will 2026 is the 75th year, and we're going to kick off the campaign probably in the fall.
Got it. So 74th just happened.
Yeah, we're in the 74th year. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Man, that's so exciting. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a big. What is that? Because I know they do like silver and how
what is 70? Yeah, golden is 50. So I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm like, what is 75?
Platinum? I don't know.
You're gonna have to look that one up.
That's right.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone hoping to make an impact in the mental health community?
It's a great idea or a great question. I think it depends on what they're called to do, because you don't have to just do therapy.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you have a mindset and a demeanor and an interest in doing one-on-one or family therapy where you sit there with a family and really dig into their issues, help them to learn about themselves and new strategies to live their best life. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah.
But it takes a very specific type of person that wants to do that. Not everybody does. Some people want to do more like leadership. Like, I want to lead an organization, or I'd like to run a department. I'd like to manage, a mental health program. Some people just care about the mission, but maybe their passion is in accounting. But I want to work for a place that's personally meaningful to me. I don't want to work for a place that, I don't have really any connection to.
Yeah.
So my accounting, my work that I do, while I can do it and it's the same work, the meaning behind it is different.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to anyone is, like, if you've got a passion for mental health with some other nonprofits, to really do more prevention work. One of the things that we have at ACGC, and I invite anyone who would like to come out and see it or to come volunteer, is we have a very large healing garden in the back of our property. And it is a very popular destination for volunteers, for corporate groups to come out and volunteer in the healing garden, help us to maintain it. It's very calm. It's very soothing to be out there and kind of work in the dirt and to, be with your family or your colleague. But we're working with another organization in Austin called Urban Roots, and they do urban farming and youth development. Having the connection with the earth, which we know research shows is very healing and it promotes positive mental health. So, we're trying to find ways to do more on the prevention side, because we're never going to have enough folks on the treatment side.
Yeah.
But if we can help on education, prevention work to help people, one, identify, when they're stressed, when there might be mental health issues, and what are some strategies that they can use to help manage that stress and to provide kind of, support to build resilience so that they can better manage all of the things that just happen in life.
Wow, that's really cool and so creative.
Yeah.
Have y'all thought about even because I know I've heard the scientific with just touching the grass and Also, like fitness, they say. Is there anything like that y'all would consider? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think with the garden as well, being out and moving and like
walking around,
walking
and, stuff like that.
being kneeling and doing all the work to cultivate. That's where I think the farming piece of it really comes into play, because
Yeah.
you have to be much more active than just maybe doing small gardens and small plantings. But when you're actually out there harvesting carrots,
Wow,
that's
that's
going to
gonna
be
be
a little
so-
more
Yeah.
physically challenging. But we also want it to be accessible for folks too. So if you can't do that, if it has to be more like physical limiting, there are options for you there too.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
gonna be exciting. And when is that gonna go into effect?
Yeah, it's great. We're talking about the planning of it right now. Like the garden exists as it stands. This is really a pretty large expansion. So we're going to be working on a strategy here over the next several months to really develop that. I'd love to come back, and when we have it fully up and running, we can talk
Yeah.
about it. Certainly invite you to come out and see it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
We've been to the garden before.
Oh, great.
And so I know last year, or no, not last year, 2 years ago, we had a group go out and they went and they were actually digging in the garden and
Yeah.
helping out. And so I'm like, we need to get back out there because
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Well, I think it'll be much bigger the next time you come.
Yeah, that's going to be so cool. What are some of the challenges and rewards of leading, Austin Child Guidance Center in today's world?
Well, I'll start with the rewards. I mean, definitely when you see children and families experience healing and they are able to build stronger bonds, to have more connection, attachment to one another. And you hear the stories of like, and now they're having, more friendships at school, or their grades are going up, or we're not fighting so much. We're able to enjoy, family time together. It's not so stressful, kind of peace and healing to families. It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes families come to us in crisis. They are very confused. They're upset. They may be struggling and so to be able to be part of their journey where they are getting answers and actually moving towards positive outcomes, that's really great. I think the challenge is always, how do we make sure that families know about us?
Yeah.
Because it's always heartbreaking when you hear families saying, we struggle and we can't find anybody to help us. We're struggling. We can't find resources. We can't find support. And I was just like, I wish you would have called us because we could have helped. So getting the word out, raising awareness, making sure families know to call us. We may not be able to do everything, but we also know enough partners in the community where if it's not right for us, maybe there's some other folks that we can refer you to. So if nothing else, if a family is experiencing some type of mental health issue and they're just don't know where to turn, I would always just encourage them to call someone, whether it's ACGC or Integral Care or their physician's office. I mean, just ask someone for help. And because oftentimes, that referral can make the difference. So for us, my challenge is always making sure people know about us and they know that we turn no one away due to an inability to pay.
Yeah.
So we will work with folks as much as we can. And like I said, even some of our programs provide services free of charge.
Do y'all plan on ever opening another location further out?
It's a great question. So one of the things that we are thinking about is how can we sustainably bring in-person services to folks in our community who don't live near our offices on 45th Street in Lamar. We don't think the best strategy is to build other buildings, rent other spaces because of all the costs associated with that infrastructure. What I would much rather do is really build strong partnership with other organizations that are already serving children and families who have already recognized that, hey, their families need support. Like they're seeing kiddos that have mental health issues that need support, seeing families struggle.
Yeah.
So how do we partner with those organizations and bring our services to them? So I would much rather partner with other child and family serving organizations, send therapists or put therapists into their services so that we can support those families as opposed to having to have the expenses of, maintaining physical buildings. And it's just one more place for people to go as well. And we know families are oftentimes really busy. They're struggling to get kids from point A to point B. They don't need one more place to go. So if we can provide services in places where they're already supposed to be, like, out of school time programs or camps or schools, places where children are already, and we provide those services on site. I think that's a much better strategy to bring more services to folks in person rather than building more buildings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so do you already have like people going out to schools and stuff like that? Or?
We don't currently,
Gotcha.
because I think post-pandemic, a lot of things shifted with schools and mental health support. So we certainly get referrals from schools, but like being on campus, we are not there yet. I would love to have conversations about what that would look like. But two, I also think not being on campus in today's climate provides us with a lot more flexibility. Oftentimes schools are really constrained by what they can do. They're told what they can say, what they can't say, how they can talk to students, what information they can provide. We want to be very client-centered, and whatever the client needs and whatever the therapeutic model is that client is best suited to that client, we want to do that. So that's the other piece. I think we need to be really thoughtful before we go all in and be in person in schools. Is what are the pros and cons? What are we going to have to sacrifice in order to do that? Certainly, it would be great to have access to children and families in the school day setting. But if it restricts what we're able to do in terms of best practices and therapy, then it would provide us with some challenges, I think.
Yeah, and then it can kind of like take the purpose away.
Yeah.
What do you feel like with the Austin community, what is there anything, I don't want to say like what do they lack, but but what do you think the Austin community could give you more of, like when it comes to helping out ACGC?
It's a really good question. I mean, certainly, what we do oftentimes is very private. Obviously, seeking mental health supports can be very scary. There's still a lot of stigma in many parts of our community. So I think the more that we in Austin can do to help destigmatize it, so that we know that seeking support for your mental health is no different than if you were to twist your ankle. And go to the doctor. Your brain is an organ in your body, and when things are not going right, trying to understand what's happening, and then what's the recommendation for how do you address it?
Yeah.
So I don't think people feel shame like when they step off a curb wrong and they twist their ankle and they go to the doctor. It's like, well, the doctor says you need to have like 6 weeks of physical therapy. Okay, well, I'll do that. Well, if the doctor says, you seem really depressed, maybe we need to talk about 6 weeks of counseling to help figure out why you feel that way and what can we do about it. There's still a lot of stigma associated with that. And so the more that we can do to understand as a community that there's really no difference and we should be treating it equitably, making sure people have access, not contributing to that stigma and shame. And then two, talking openly about, access to mental health services, supporting families that have mental health issues going on. And if you see a family struggling, saying, hey, there are resources in our community that I can connect you to if you need help.
Yeah, that vulnerability is like so important.
Yeah.
How have you seen a lot of the older generation now? Have you seen any of them like go into Austin Child Guidance Center and?
I will tell you what, we've been around for 75 years, and this is what's always amazes me, is the number of people that come in and say, I got services here.
Yeah.
Or my mom and dad brought us here when I was little. Or, my cousin got services here. I mean, these are older people because we've been around 75 years. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of people in Austin right now who either got served by ACGC, who worked at ACGC, who got their training there. They maybe were a student at UT and, in social work, and they did an internship there. There are so many people in Austin who have a ACGC story. It always amazes me just how kind of deep the roots are. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. I want to say that I had told my mom, I'm like, hey, we not work with this nonprofit. And she said that she knew about ACGC from her childhood too. And so I was like, oh, wow.
That's great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It must be so challenging to also like run this nonprofit and then also have to just go home and be a parent. How do you? Yes,
that is my hardest job every day is to be a parent.
Yeah,
yes.
So how what do you do to decompress or just when you're teaching people about mental health all day and advocating for it? Sometimes we forget like about ourselves. So what's something that helps you or that you like recommend to other people?
Yeah, I wish I had like a magic great thing. I mean, I need to think of something that's really like just like earth-shattering to say here. I'm a human being. I struggle like everybody else. I have good days. I have bad days. I have days where I lose it and I think, oh, when I calm down, like I should have done it like this. Like I wish I could have done better. So I will tell you the one thing that I am practicing is trying to, when I have those moments, pretending like I'm talking to somebody who is a client at ACGC. What would I say to them?
Yeah.
Would I beat them up? Would I make them feel bad? Would I would I scold them and tell them that they're a terrible person? No. Of course I wouldn't, because I want there to be an opportunity to learn and to change and to heal. Yeah. So talking to myself like I would talk to somebody who is a client is something that I find is helpful. To say like, you're doing your best. You're under a lot of stress. How would you do that differently? Well, next time, let's try to do that. And not dwell on, the shame of like, I messed up. Like, yes, you feel you messed up. But at the same time, how do you take that and like, okay, I messed up. Let's shake it off. Let's try again. Because really, as a parent, what other choice do you have? Yeah. Are you just going to give up? I mean, that's the thing. You just can't give up.
Yeah.
And there are days when you absolutely 100% feel like giving up. But that's the thing that I can say has been the most helpful is like, if I can stop and just say like, wait a minute, if I had a client that just experienced this, what would I say to them? Yeah. And I find that really helpful.
That is really helpful. I'm going to have to steal that one and do that.
I mean, I've heard that like people say like, what if your best friend called you and I feel terrible? Well, I mean, what would you do? What would you say to them?
Yeah, like
would
you're not going to be mean to them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we are so mean to ourselves.
We are very mean to ourselves.
I tell people that. I'm like, there's power in the tongue, so we got to watch what we say.
That's right.
Yeah. What does a typical day look like for you?
Oh, gosh. And this is more about being the executive director of a nonprofit than ACGC, but every day is going to look a little different because we are called to do so many different things, whether it be, working with your team and making sure that the staff that you have in place feel supported to do their work, whether you're working with donors to make sure they understand the benefits of donating to the organization and what outcomes that's helping you produce for the community. Yeah. Working on compliance to make sure you're following all the laws and regulations that, you have to. They don't have to follow a lot of rules, but they have to follow lots of rules.
I can imagine.
Because probably even more so, because if you do things wrong, you can risk your whole tax-exempt status as an organization.
Yeah.
And then you can't accept donations, you can't give tax write-offs to people who donate. So for us, as executive directors, it's juggling a lot of different unique activities during the day. Putting out a lot of fires, and also just making sure that you're out in the community being an ambassador and talking about so that people will support you.
Yeah.
Because that's really the main thing. Nonprofits exist in the thing that you do. You can still bring those skills to bear, for that cause, and there's going to be a need for it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What is there anything else that you want to like say to the viewers or anyone watching that you feel like people need to know about Austin Child Guidance Center?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are three things that ACGC needs, and that is one, we need people to help us spread the word. So if you know of families or individuals who need support, tell them about us. Visit our website at austinchildguidance.org. You'll be able to find our phone number, our access to all of our information, ways that you can get involved, or ways that you can enroll in services. We need people who want to give of their time, who are talented and want to help us either throw events or volunteer and help our staff in the office, want to work with children. Like we have volunteer roles like play leaders that come and just play with children in our lobby so that, as parents come in and they're stressed and they've got another child that's having therapy, maybe they have to be involved in that. We have play leaders that just entertain kids and work with them. Yeah.
So there's no like heavy requirements to be volunteer.
There are not. So we would just say go on our website and submit an inquiry. If they had interest in volunteering, you'll be able to see the volunteer roles that we have, and someone will contact you, and you can talk about when you want to come in, how you want to volunteer, and we'll try to match up your interests with our opportunities. And then the last thing is, just any financial support from the community is always appreciated. We can't do this without community support. Again, nonprofits are unique in that oftentimes they don't have an opportunity to earn money. Fortunately, we do.
Yeah.
We do not earn enough to cover all of our costs. Everything we do, we earn a little bit, but it always costs more than we're able to earn. We do get grants. We do have contracts with the city and the county to provide services, but again, not enough to fully run an organization. So we make that budget complete by donations from the community. So any donations from individuals, from corporations, always appreciated. We try our best to really thank and recognize our donors, whether it be on our website or through communications like letters and phone calls and sometimes events. Where we really appreciate our donors. Things like this podcast, come on and talk to people, corporations who support us. That really is the third thing is if you're so moved to donate to ACGC, we would really appreciate it. And it helps serve people.
Yeah.
Right now, it costs us for one therapy session about $160. That's the full fee for the therapy session.
For just one therapy
For
session?
one therapy session, 1 hour of therapy with a therapist is $160.
Okay.
With a fully licensed clinician. We do not earn $160. Let's say a client has Medicaid. So we'll bill Medicaid for that. We do not get paid $160 for that. We might get paid maybe $70, $75 is our reimbursement rate. So that remaining $95
It's like a loss, right?
it's a loss. So we've got to raise that money or find other entities to pay for that so that we can cover our costs. Because again, we're a nonprofit. Nobody gets wealthy. Nobody is earning a profit. If we make more money, than we had planned, that just means we can expand services and serve more people.
Man, that's crazy. Nobody really knows that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah. No one gets rich working for nonprofits. I mean,
Yeah.
it is important for me, for people who work for nonprofits, to earn a competitive salary because they have to live in this community. They have to work. And I want them to stay because every time someone leaves a nonprofit job because they can't afford to do that anymore, then that turnover means you lose all that experience, all that time, all that passion.
Yeah.
When someone probably really wanted to stay, but they just can't afford it.
Yeah.
They can go work, in the private sector and make more money. So it's really important for me, for people who work at organizations that I lead, to earn not just a living wage, but a thriving wage so that they stay and they're continue to be engaged. And it's competitive.
Yeah, I can imagine. And especially in the Austin community, how is that? I'm assuming that's a very big
Cost of
challenge.
living is very high here. Yeah. Obviously. And that's no surprise to anyone. So for me, it is making sure that we are keeping pace with, what people can make if they were to work in the private sector.
Yeah.
So it's worth it to me to make sure people are well compensated and taken care of, because when they are, that means they're going to take care of our clients really well too.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, Austin's just... And you've been here for 25 years,
25
right?
years, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I can imagine the things you've seen in
It's
the
great.
nonprofit.
Yeah. I've been here a little longer. I went to college at Southwestern University in Georgetown.
Oh, okay.
So that was in the late 80s, early 90s. So Georgetown was very small back then. So I would come down to Austin a lot. So in the early 90s, Austin was even more different.
Yeah.
And then I, moved back to Austin proper in 2000.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're still technically Austin, just Georgetown.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such an interesting backstory. Where were you before Austin?
So I grew up in Houston, always in Texas, and then went to college at Southwestern. And then I moved to Ohio and had a job where I traveled the country for a few years, and then went to graduate school at University of Florida. So I was at UF for a few years, and then stayed and worked at the Student Health Center at University of Florida for a few years. And then from that job, came back to Texas.
What drove you to Austin? Was it like the nonprofit community or
I always said, because I fell in love with it when I was in college, and I really always said, oh boy, if I ever get a chance to move to Austin, I'm going to take it. And then 25 years later,
Here you are.
here. I'm still here.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't imagine leaving.
It's changed a lot. Yeah. I mean, there are things about it that are very different than what I envisioned. I mean, obviously, affordability, mobility, just the growth of it is, I mean, it's crazy. But I still think the benefits to Austin outweigh the negatives.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm a Austin unicorn, and so always.
Born and raised. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
So I've always been here, but I always tell people, I'm like, I mean, I have my kids here already, and I'm like, I like raising a family here in Austin. Like, there's so many things to do there. I mean, they already have their school and all that stuff, but.
And I've traveled enough to see other cities and communities, and that are beautiful, lovely. And there are definitely some places where I thought, I could live here.
Yeah.
But
I always think about that when I
it's
travel.
it's always so funny because I'm like, that reminds me of Austin, and those are the cities that I like.
Yeah. I went to Chicago. That's the last place that I traveled to, and I loved it. It was really beautiful, but nothing beats Austin. I don't know. I just love Austin too much.
Yep.
When you think about the future of children's health in Austin, what gives you the most hope?
When I think about the future, I know we've made some real investments recently in things like affordable childcare, affordable after-school programs, making sure that those programs are high quality. I think, though, when we come together as a community and decide that's important to us, that gives me hope because I think too often we're left with some really bad messages about our investment in children because we always hear education is underfunded, too many children are living in poverty, I mean, which is all true. And sometimes that can really make those of us who work in child care and development and really want to see a community where, children are supported, make it feel like this problem's too big. Not enough people care about it. The obstacles are too big. I think some of the recent announcements, like, the mayor's wanting to make Austin the best place in the country to raise a child. Great. That's awesome. I think that's a big lift. I think there's definitely some things that we can do, but it's going to take the whole community to do it. So it's great that we have that type of leadership and that we are talking about it. Hopefully, people will come together and actually, when we learn what it's going to take to do that, they'll keep that energy and momentum going because these are going to be large issues that we're going to need to deal with. We're going to have to think about some of these challenges in different ways because, like I said, mental health is a prime example. We're not going to ever have enough therapists for everyone who might need one-on-one counseling. But there are some other things that we can do to provide mental health supports for those who would benefit from maybe non-clinical work and expand clinical work so that those who really need it get it. Yeah.
And I can imagine too, just with like all the things going on in the world now, also just like how that impacts just everyone and even, the leadership that we have, how it's going to take a lot more.
I think, we want to support children, but I think we always have to remember too, children are raised by parents. And when they're stressed because either the what's happening in the economy or what's happening in the job market or what's happening in the political climate is providing them with a lot of stress, then that gets translated to their kiddos. So how do we support parents to also be managing their stress and their own mental health so that they can best support their kids?
That's a good one, yeah. Starts with the parents.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll have to bring you back when it's 75th anniversary.
Yeah, that would be great, and have you out to the farm.
Yeah, we'll be at the farm.
Awesome.
So awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone. This was Andy Miller, Austin Child Guidance Center. And you can go on their website. It's
AustinChildGuidance.org.
Got it. AustinChildGuidance.org. We'll have it here. A little thing.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.